Good morning, everyone. I apologize. I was having technical difficulty with my audio, trying to connect both to my laptop and my phone. It was just one of those days where internet was not on my side, but I am very grateful to have Miss Gloria Marie with me on live. I've been following Gloria for the past maybe 3 to 4 years, actually, and she was actually one of the first followers that I was following before I started, getting into social media. And actually, I voted for her. Maybe there was an award that 2, 3 years ago for Woman in Construction. So I remember typing in your name and linking in the information and explaining why, you deserve that award. But I'm just super grateful that you made time to connect with us. For those that don't know Gloria, she is on the East Coast and is an amazing entrepreneur. So I'm going to let her explain to you guys what she does and who she is.
Well, first and foremost, that was quite an intro. Thank you so much. And I'm truly humbled by you and all of the followers that I've had over the years, both here on LinkedIn and other social platforms. It's really inspiring to me, honestly, knowing that I don't have hundreds of thousands or millions or just, even tens of thousands. I think I have like 10,000 across all platforms, followers that I inspire so many people because to me, I'm just a regular gal, love Jesus, of course. And, everything that I do is in his name and for him. And, I follow, everything that I do on social media very spiritually. It's to me kind of like a ministry. And, sometimes I think about quitting, but hearing words like what you just said, humble me back and bring me back to like why I even started being a voice for women and just the construction industry in general. So for those who don't know me, my name is Gloria Marie. I'm an advocate for the construction industry and minorities in the trades, specifically not just women, but minorities in the Latino community, which is where I come from. My uncle was a custom home builder. All the men in our family have been in the construction industry on the oil and gas side pretty much my entire life. So I've been in and around the industry a lot. I'm a GC by trade, and now I'm actually working with Emser Tile and Stone, which is a company out of the West Coast of California. And we import and export tile and stone throughout the entire United States, the Caribbean, everywhere. I'm in charge, of course, of the East Coast for my division, which is luxury, custom, and outdoor. And I also do some stuff in the Caribbean because, that's where I'm from. So that's just a little bit about me and a little bit of background, but I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having
That's
me.
so awesome. And let me ask you, did you start off in construction or did you venture off?
No, no,
I want
not
to
at
hear your
all.
story.
Not at all. The long and the short of it is that again, led, I think, spiritually, I landed in the construction industry after having many different jobs, trying out a bunch of different things. I, like many millennials, were told that if you didn't go to college, graduate from college or university, or have a certain type of degree, or even a master's in business administration, like you couldn't be a successful entrepreneur. You couldn't amount to anything. And of course, for all my people from, the rest of the world with immigrant parents, and I'm American, but still Latino parents that are like, if you don't go to school and, you don't get a degree and become a doctor or this person or that person or whatever. And my parents weren't like that bad. But yeah, it was always like, you're going to go to school, you're going to get a desk job. And, this is how you're going to make your money. And so that's what I aspired to. And I tried. I did banking and did many other jobs and tried other industries like real estate as well. And I ended up landing in the construction industry in my 30s, early 30s, when I was transitioning from corporate America and moved to Texas and wanted to really explore this entrepreneurial bug that I've always had and always had an inkling for.
Wow. Texas. So where you're
Texas.
originally, are you from New York?
So, I mean, I am an expat. That's an expatriate, which means that my family, my father was an American that was working overseas for an American company. So,
Okay.
truthfully, I kind of grew up in a bunch of different places. Our family's from New York. We've lived in Texas, and we've lived on a bunch of different islands. I now reside in the state of Florida. So I don't really consider myself from any one place in particular. I feel like every place that I've lived has a little bit of me in it. But yes, I spent a lot of time in New York.
That's awesome. The reason I asked because your website and your following, you had talked a lot about New York and your whole experience. So, what advice would you give to a young female that is
Mhm.
maybe questioning going into the construction space? Because now, we have amazing people such as yourself who advocate for women, and you show that there's more than just the field, right? Because I think a lot of people sometimes think, oh, construction, I don't want to do that. It's more of a man's
Yeah.
job, not my thing. And now, having different influencers, such as Megan Shapiro, you could also be an attorney for construction, but there's so many different areas that you could focus in construction. So what advice would you give to a young lady who might be thinking of exploring the construction?
Okay, this is a great question. And first and foremost, the advice I'm giving is not going to be female specific. I think this is just advice in general, but I will give some tidbits to females because I agree with you. Number one, you're right. There's so many jobs in the construction industry, and it's kind of like an orchestra. You have different people who are playing all these different instruments, right? And there's a conductor or maybe two or three conductors depending on the size of the orchestra sometimes, right? And everybody cohesively makes this beautiful sound together, right? And they create music. So building is creating, and it requires a lot of moving parts and a lot of people and a lot of different talents. So we have the field, we have the back office and the people who are designing the buildings, architects, engineers, designers, even city planners, and building departments, municipalities, insurance providers, and all of the people that are part of the back office. And then we have everything in between, right? The hybrid roles where you're partially in the field, partially in the back office. And this is where your suppliers live, your distributors live, project managers, assistant project managers, foremen, superintendents, safety people, et cetera, et cetera. And even some of the building department. And I'm probably missing a bunch, and people can add more in the comments to show us that they're here. I know a lot of times people, show up a little bit late on these live streams or catch the replay. So just add others in the comments because there's just so many careers. So that's the first part. The second thing is do what naturally makes you feel. And I think this is for any career, do what naturally makes you feel happy. You got to do this job for the next couple decades, if you're just starting off, probably the next like at least 40, sometimes 50 years, because I know that men tend to work a little bit later in life, and that's just back to their natural tendencies. So it is very natural for women to lean more towards hybrid and back office roles, and there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've been administrators for centuries, and I think since now we're past the 1900s and it's 2026, we're like so far into the 2000s. It's been a while, and women are just natural administrators, either in the home or in an office, and we're just better at it than guys. And then coming to the field, I mean, men are and traditionally were, and I know that there's a lot of overlap, but hunter gatherers, right? Bringing the food back to the home, and providing and being strong. And we're all built differently. While I may still be super strong because I lift and stay fit and all the stuff, I'm not going to be as strong as a 6'5" dude unless I'm using equipment, which I think now that we have so much great equipment, from the skeletons, from, all different kinds of tools that make our lives in the field easier, women can really truly do anything. So if you're naturally inclined to want to be in the field, work with your hands, work with tools, then go do that. But if you're naturally inclined to be an administrator or project manager, get into procurement, get on the supply side where you're selling the stuff that they build with. We can't do anything without suppliers, right? I'm on the supply side now. If my material doesn't get to the job site, it doesn't get built. At least not that part of it, right? And I'm in tile and stone, which I'm in the finishes, but then we also have setting materials and prep, which is part of the leveling of the floors, maybe priming the floors, waterproofing the floors. All of that stuff comes from us. So that's also part of the rough. So again, if the material doesn't get to site, then nothing gets built. So it's a team effort. There's a lot of different roles that you could play. I think if you're in high school, you could probably get into some sort, at least in the United States. I know Canada has similar co-op type programs. And I know this is such a long-winded answer, and I promise I'll close up soon. But ask your guidance counselor or have your parents help you research co-op programs that you can get into in high school and get some like dual credits, both in the US and Canada and maybe other countries if you're watching. Or if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever age you are, and you're looking for a career shift or to start a career after a long time, whatever stage of life you're in, explore the construction industry and check out local programs and, maybe get a part-time job at a hardware store or a part-time job at an office with a contractor, or look into the insurance industry, legal. You mentioned Megan Shapiro earlier, and there's so many others. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, thanks for listening to my long-winded answer.
No, that's a great question. And I'm so grateful that, like I said, there's so many people, there's a movement for females, but we're still the minority when you look at construction as a whole, right? I believe it's like less than 5% is what we make of. And to your point too, being a female and being younger, I'm not sure if you ever experienced this, but then have you ever felt like they didn't take you serious because you're a female? It's like, well, what do you know?
I think, yeah. So that's never been my experience. I get asked that a lot in podcasts. I grew up pretty confident. So I am grateful for my parents and my family that, really instilled that confidence in me. I also danced and was on stage quite a bit. So I think that even that part of my life and doing extracurricular activities where, I was required to be confident, at least while I was on that stage, really helped me in not just this career, but other careers. So that has never been my experience. I think being young, yes, 100% not being taken seriously for being young, not being taken seriously because I didn't have a degree, right, in maybe construction management or PMP. But, I've owned several multi-million-dollar businesses and grown, businesses from the ground up with pennies on the dollar, if anything. And yeah, I, obviously wasn't a multi-millionaire or billionaire or ultra successful, but it created a living for myself and those who worked for me, stability, the ability to have flexible schedules and do the things that I do, and even get me to where I am today, where, I work with a really nice privately held company that's family owned. They treat everybody like, they are part of the family. There's about, I think, 1,500 employees nationwide, and relatively small still, right? Business, not huge. And I'm making a great living because of what I do and the experiences that I've had. So I think, success is measured differently by people depending on what they're looking for. But I do believe that, some of those limitations I placed on myself, just based off of, again, what the construction industry was presented as to me growing up, and I keep harping on it, but I think that it's important. We were told it was a fallback career, and it was for people who, couldn't amount to something, or, that it was less than. And there are people out there, doing the trade work that are making 2-3 times more than I am,
Oh yeah.
and they're out there working with their hands and dealing with the heat and all sorts of other conditions that I'm grateful I don't have to deal with.
Yeah, and you're 100% right about that, because people say, well, go to the construction industry, they'll take anyone. And
Right.
there is this, well, I mean, it is somewhat true in that
No,
sense.
absolutely. We will listen. We will take you. Will you have to work hard? Yes, we will take anyone. I had ex-cons that came across programs and crews that we worked with. I had school dropouts. I had people that were labeled with, autism, ADHD, all sorts of things. We will take anyone. Construction is made up of misfits, but you gonna need to work still. Like, this isn't just sit back and, collect a paycheck. Like, you will have to put in the work. But we will take anyone. So please join the industry if you want to.
But I mean, that's the beautiful part. I mean, you mentioned ex-cons. I have clients that do that too, and they will absolutely give that opportunity to someone because they themselves might have a personal story tied to that, or a family member. And I am a big
Correct.
believer that once you decide to make that decision to change your life, anything's possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I am faith driven. Some people, have other things that drive them, or they get transformed. I wasn't always this way. I have my own testimony outside of everything that I am today. And, that's a story for another day, and different podcasts. But, for sure, nobody's perfect, right? So if you do make that decision to change, and you do make that decision, to be a better person and to serve your communities in which way you are gifted at, then, you should have that opportunity. And I think the construction industry provides a lot of opportunity for a lot of different people that wouldn't receive said opportunities otherwise. Now, I will also say that, the world is changing. Companies are no longer asking for degrees, or more so looking at experience, both in the front office and back office, not just construction, but, other industries as well. So, things are changing. And Gen, is it Z? Yeah, Gen Z is really interested in the trades, and schools and the education system are starting to position people like myself, people like you, in these spaces to talk about the construction industry, and, to present it as an alternative career for those who don't want to go to school and don't want to get into debt because they were told they have to. And yeah.
No, you're 100% right. And I'm loving the movement from Gen Z, the social media movement of them posting their blogs, daily life. And that's very, it's inspirational, because it's motivating others. Like, hey, like, this might be something for me. And just like you said, uh, there's, if you are unsure of what you want to do, and, in your future, don't get yourself in debt. Don't go buy a degree if you know that's not something you want to do and pursue. I always tell people, give yourself an opportunity in the real life. Go
Yeah.
out there, see what you like, try a couple of things, and then decide what you want to do. Especially, when you're 18, you really don't know what you want to do.
Not a clue. And, I'll give a shout out even to other trade type jobs, right? There are jobs in healthcare. They need nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, CNAs, which the RNs, I forget the ones that like can do prescriptions and whatever. But anyway, nurse practitioners, there are anesthesiologists, and then you have the entire logistics world. We need truckers, and we need heavy equipment people, and we need people that are going to do road work. And, there are culinary, right? The restaurant industry, like the restaurant industry even is suffering. So listen, go do something with your hands. Anything with your hands. It doesn't even have to be construction, but yeah, if you're confused about what you want to do in life, 100% don't get into debt. And for the love of God, do not get into debt over what I deem useless degrees. Okay. The internet is great. AI has a lot of information. It filters and sifts through a lot of BS for you. So, in that sense, it's really good. Better than Google. You can also ask it to give you the opposite point of view. Like, is there another, because just because it spat something out doesn't mean you can't be like, oh, hey, well, what if this, right? Debate the thing and see what else it comes up with. And women's studies, gender studies, social studies, anything with the word studies, international relations, communications, like all of these things, even entrepreneurship. Like, I'm seeing degrees in schools now for entrepreneurship. Y'all get on YouTube. I mean, really, and no shade on the schools for trying to make some money on the entrepreneurship trend, but y'all get on YouTube and hire a mentor in specifically what it is that you want to do. Do not throw money away on a useless degree. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be an engineer, an architect, an aeronautic something, or astronaut. Bro, go to school. Like you can't learn that on the internet. Don't even try it, right? So there's both sides of the coin. And that's my rant on careers and schools and young people.
I mean, you're 100% right about that. So now I'm going to go to wrap up this live. You are the master of relationships. And, just through your social media, you've been able to connect with people across the whole nation. Now, I want to ask you, how has relationships helped you out in your career?
Wow. I think that, first of all, thank you. Again, truly humbled by that comment about being a master at anything. I think, yes, I'm really good at managing relationships, keeping relationships. It's about quality, not quantity. I'm also not looking for transactional relationships, whether it's in business or my personal life. I don't have hundreds of thousands of friends, or even, a ton, tens of. I know a lot of people. I hang out with a lot of people, but truly close friends, I could probably count them on two hands, right? And I've lost a couple of friends also in the past couple of years to cancer, and it's something that I'm also truly aware of. As we age, we're gonna start losing people, right? So it is what it is, but relationships shouldn't be transactional. They should mean something. And when we're younger, we're a little bit more inclined to be a little bit more selfish and be more transactional and what's in it for me. And then as you get older, you understand. And I think that this just come with wisdom and time, that I have learned that, it's who you surround yourself with, not what or how many. And so the quality of your relationships matters. I met so many of you all virtually first before I meet you in person, and or ever do business with you, or may never do a transaction with you ever. But, I'm connected to you and have learned so much about the insurance world, what to look for in paperwork, even when I was owning and operating my own GC business, and or even advice that I may have given to my subcontractors when I was reviewing their insurance and their certificates and what coverage they had, and asking them, well, how much are you paying? Like, I feel like you're getting ripped off because your coverage sucks, right? So I wouldn't have been able to give that advice, though, if I wasn't following you, if I wasn't following, a virtual lawyer for subcontractors that also gives advice on what clauses to read, what should be in your contract, not be in your contract. So these relationships have benefited me over and over in many different ways, and also my own network. And truly, everything that I do at the end of the day is not even for me, or for anybody else. It's for him. So I think that having the mentality of not what's in it for me, but how can we all win together, or what can we learn or glean from each other or each other's networks, is how, you master relationships. And over time, those relationships, I've had relationships with some people for 5 years, 10 years. And, I wasn't until 5, 10 years later that I saw why that person needed to be in my life, or what that relationship provided for me. It had be a business transaction, or maybe they introduced me to my biggest client. I have a real estate agent in New York that reached out to me today. She was one of the speakers at New York Built, and that woman referred me, I want to say, like, well over 2.5, maybe $3 million worth of work.
Wow.
Never worked with her directly, but just through introductions that she made, she made me and my company gross quite a bit of money, right? Especially for a small little 5, 6 people firm. We did well off of that one relationship. I mean, I introduced her to a bunch of other people as well, and hopefully those relationships panned out or didn't pan out, or she received her blessing in other ways for being such a giver. But she's amazing. So, relationships, I mean, it's really about doing it selflessly, and then everything else kind of unfolds on its own.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. It's about the trust that you've gained, right? Because you're during that relationship, or during that time, you're building trust, and no one's going to refer you a client if they don't trust that you'll take care of them. So, what's next
Yeah.
for Miss Gloria Marie?
Well, I think a lot of folks have seen the transition of me moving from the Northeast, being a, owner operator of a design build company, to now moving to the supply side and being with Emser Tile and Stone, working with them to grow their brand, their presence here in the East Coast. And, also settling down in South Florida, uh, building a home, kind of slowing down a little bit versus go, 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 go.
Are you
And
building a custom home?
no, 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 my own
Okay.
home. And home in many different ways, right? But I think eventually, yes, building is where I want to be. Recently, my business partner, Tamara Joy, for those who follow me on social know, she passed away. And so, we knew she was one of the folks that unfortunately was taken from us way too young, through disease and cancer. And so one of our goals was always to be a developer and to build our own property. And so I believe that the Glow Joy brand will continue to live in that sense. And when the time is right, I will start to build property. But for the time being, I'm, staying put and building the Emser business and working with the owners of the Emser company and the rest of the executive leadership team to grow their luxury custom and outdoor division here in the East Coast. A lot of people know who they are in the West Coast of the United States and even central part of the United States. But Emser is the
That was actually going to be my
largest.
second question for the viewers
Oh,
here in the West Coast in California. Are they
yeah.
able to order and purchase from you and your company?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we're wholesale as long as you are in the construction industry and have an EIN and you fall under different categories, right? We have trade accounts. So those are going to be the installers, our bucket and trowel guys. We've got commercial accounts. We've got national accounts. I mean, we're in all the Toll Brothers. Hilton Hotels is another one, brand name that you'll see and all over the place, right? It's a wholesale company, one of the largest privately held still in the United States, importing and exporting from 29 different countries. So if there is a stone that you've ever heard of, as rare as it could possibly be, we could probably bring it in for you just as much as the next guy. And because it is in my opinion, company that is relatively large, mid-size, and has a lot of relationships since 1968. I believe that we're able to be highly competitive. But then our products are found everywhere, from ProSource to Home Depot. If a retail customer, like a homeowner, just wants to buy Emser tile, they can do that. And so we have those type of accounts as well. So hopefully that answered your question. And nationally, globally, really, I do believe that we have a couple of international projects that we've been working with as well.
That's amazing. Where can people reach you out?
Oh, people can reach me here, obviously, on LinkedIn. I am at the Gloria Marie on all platforms, Instagram, and all the others. Instagram is really where I will spend most of my time outside of LinkedIn. And then the other platforms are, kind of there to be there. And I don't really log into them. I think I have a Facebook that somebody created for me at one point. But that's because I needed like a meta account for Instagram or whatever else. I don't even know how all that works. So you can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or you could just, shoot me an email. And my email contact information is on my profile here. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Gloria. I appreciate you taking your time from the East Coast to connect over here to the West Coast. And for the
Yep.
viewers, I will be making a separate post with her contact information, her company's information for those that are interested in partnering up with Gloria. But thank you so much, Gloria. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I also want to take this time to talk, give some moments of silence for your partner. And I know she did leave the world very young. So my heart goes out to you. And then we have
Thank you.
someone from the West Coast just commented saying, thank you. I learned a lot about the construction industry. Manny G.
Oh,
I don't remember
great.
what company he works for, but he's on the West Coast. So
Yeah, listen, it's always sad when we lose people early, and I do appreciate you for taking that moment of silence and for just showing respect for Tamara. A lot of people didn't even know about her. She was really more so in the background. In fact, this company used to be called G Marie and Co. Because she didn't want anything to do with it. And when we rebranded to Glowjoy, I made sure I was like, you have to come up with a name that has a little piece of you in it, even if you're going to stay in the background. And I'm so grateful that we did. She came up with that Glowjoy name and that Glowjoy brand. And being a part of the Emser family now, it almost feels like I've always been here. And, all the things that we go through and the experiences that we go through and the people in our lives, it's all for a reason. So, I know that her legacy lives on and will continue to live on through all the people's lives that I touched just because of everything that she did for me. And, there's more to come on the future of that brand as a development company and investment company, and all the growth that I have otherwise. And to
Yeah.
those who tuned in and watched live, I want to say thank you to you guys. To those catching the replay, I also want to say thank you for taking the time. I know it's the middle of the day, especially on the West Coast. For those of you in the East Coast, I know it's in the middle of the day, especially on a freaking, what is it, Wednesday? Yeah, on a Wednesday. So I'm going to give everybody back the rest of their afternoon, as they say in corporate meetings. And I will catch you guys on the next live, which we need to get you on my live because I know that my audience will definitely want to hear about the insurance industry. And I know you're in Canada, but there's a lot of overlap. And there's a lot of tips and tricks that you have that I think are really beneficial. And for those who don't follow you, they should. So make sure that you also follow Rocio on here.
Well, thank you so much, Gloria. And thank you so much, everybody. We'll catch you guys on the next live.
Bye.
Bye.